how are you? Thank you very much for clicking this video. My name is Anyango Midamba. I am a writer from Nairobi, Kenya, here in Africa, East Africa to be precise. And I'm currently working on my very first YA Afro-fantasy novel that is set here in Kenya. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much. Hi again. If you're not, then we have a problem. I hope you can subscribe to my channel. If you haven't watched my previous video, which is sort of like a foreshadowing of this, then please also watch that. You can watch this first. I don't mind. I don't care. Do what you like, as long as you watch the video. But if you haven't watched my video, my previous video, I introduced my work in progress novel. I talked a little bit about it, why I was writing it, what it's about, where the setting, the genre, the inspiration, and what I hope the story will do. So if you haven't watched that, kindly watch that. So today, we're going to be talking about world building for that story. So let's get to it. So very quickly, I'm just going to read what the story is about. Project TDS is a YA Afro-fantasy set in Paleolithic Kenya, where cowrie shells, feathers, and stone tools shape life and legend. The story follows a young girl thrust into a quest to resurrect a god and restore magic to save her people from a cursed land, a ruthless leader, and an even greater doom tied to an ancient celestial event threatening to wipe them from the face of the earth. Da-da-da-dun. It's a story of origin, resistance, and survival on the brink of extinction. Today I'm basically going to be talking about world building for my story. And again, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly do. Because I'm going to be doing a series about Project TDS. And I would love for you to stay and watch, because there's so much beautiful culture from where I come from. And I feel like the world needs to know about it. So the world building for Project TDS was and is still very tedious. Oh my God, writing is so cathartic. It's so beautiful. It is very cathartic and it's so beautiful. But if you want to do it right, the amount of work that you have to do, it's arduous. Oh my goodness, it is so hard. You see, the way they say, like in movies, there's pre-production. The amount of pre-production for my book that I've had to do, the amount of research, the amount of procrastination. Well, hey, crazy. Let me tell you, it has been crazy. And it's simply because I knew that I wanted to do it right for my people, you know. And if you've watched my previous video, which if you've watched my previous video, you'll see that I'm actually writing about real people who have a real genetic disorder that live all over the world, but specifically in Africa. And if we're going to narrow it down, in Kenya, where I come from, they are hunted down and killed simply because of their genetic disorder. And that is exactly why I needed more people to start talking about it, more people to know that it actually exists and it's happening. And it's ancient ways of thinking that people still actually think like that. Like, why are you still thinking like that? Why are you so superstitious? It's a lie. Trust me. It's not true what they say. You know, I want more and more people to talk about it. It has taken me years to even research, and I wanted to do it right. And that's why, and I have regrets as to how much I've procrastinated, but I do not have regrets as to how much I've researched. You know what I mean? It's not an alternative world. I know a lot of fantasies have like maps. I'm grateful that I didn't have to like draw maps of places and come up with places. I'm using exact like real places that exist. Of course, there's a little bit of tweaking here and there. Other places have been reimagined and stuff like that. But I'm talking about real places, like in Kenya. Like every other place that exists in this book is real. So that in itself is a blessing and a curse at the same time, because it's a blessing because I didn't have to now come up with things from scratch. But it's a curse because like I have to do it right, or someone will be like, that's not true. That river is not there. That mountain is a little bit to the left. That is not realistic. You have to stand correct or do not stand at all. So Kenya has 42 communities, 42 tribes, right? But this story centers around 5 tribes. And so whatever I say, I have to think, okay, do the Kikuyu people really believe in that? I mean, I have the freedom to play with cultures, but then again, at the same time, I cannot be offensive to the tribe and to the community. So it's like, you have to be really smart about it. So the reason why I decided to use real places here in Kenya is because we don't see a lot of Kenya in the world. In fact, very earlier on, I was toying with the idea of creating a whole universe, having an alternative world. But very quickly, I was like, no, I know about New York, and I've never been to New York. I know about Hollywood, so many places in the world, and I've never been there simply because of movies and books. And I don't see that about my country. So the sole reason why I decided to use a real place in my world is simply because I need you to know about Western Kenya. I need you to know about Nyanza. I need you to know about Rift Valley. I need you to know about our landscape. I feel like we have such beautiful landscape. Kenya is among the top 5 tourist destinations in Africa. Apart from South Africa, Morocco, Egypt, and Tanzania, Kenya ranks top 5. Not enough people know about the wildlife safaris that you can experience here. People don't know about our culture. I mean, we have 42 tribes with 42 different cultures. Because of the recent census, they say it's 45 tribes. I'm not so sure, but I know of 42 tribes. The world needs to hear about the Maasai, the Agikuyu, the Kamba, the Luo, the Kalenjin, all these beautiful cultures that I feel like is being watered down. When you do research about most of African countries, especially the marginalized ones, there's not enough information out there about my country, Kenya. And so I feel like it's my job to leave that legacy, even for my children and our children's children, and even your children. There's so many cultures in the world. And I feel like it's our responsibilities as people from that country to tell our stories to the world. Because if you let a stranger come in to tell your stories, they're gonna say some very, very funny things. And I've heard so many things about my country, Kenya. But it's my job to, to tell it all, the good and the bad, so that we can all relate. The world that my story is set in is in the Paleolithic age. This is way, way back, like prehistoric, People are wearing animal hides, There's cowrie shells, there's beads, there's feathers. The weapons are primarily stone tool weapons. I really love the era before colonization, And that is the age and the era that I decided to use for my story, which I feel like is very authentic. It's unadulterated. It's not influenced by the Western culture. It's very authentic, very real to who our people are. So in this world, there is a toxin that has affected the main staple food here in Kenya, which is grounded maize. So true to that, like in Kenya, our staple food is something called ugali, and it is simply just grounded maize put in water and then stirred, and it becomes this sort of like, it has this consistency. I'm just going to put an image here so you can see it. So this toxin has affected food, maize to be specific, and so there's starvation, there's deaths, there's diseases as a result, scarcity of food, superfluous tax, there's redistribution of food. People do not necessarily have free will per se. That's the situation of this world. And then there's 2 groups of people. There are the normal people, normal in quotes, and then there are people who have the ability to wield magic, and so they are hunted down and killed because of this. The truth is they actually do have magic, but their magic is premature, so they cannot fight back. So they are hunted down, they are in hiding. It's crazy. It's a crazy world. In reference again to the real world that you're living in, these are real people, and they're actually truly hunted down and killed in Kenya and in many other African countries. So as I said earlier, Kenya has 42 tribes, but in my story, we are only focusing on 5 tribes, which is the Luya, Luo, Agikuyu, Kamba, and Kalenjin. So these are the main tribes that are dominant, to say the least. So these are 5 real tribes in Kenya, and they're the 5 dominant tribes in my world. And I decided to choose them just because I can. One, I wanted to highlight these 5 and also put their culture out there into the world. Each and every tribe has their own mythology, folklore, their beliefs. And so I just wanted to highlight some of that. So the magic system in my book, obviously there's magic because it's fantasy. This marginalized group of people who have been hunted down and killed for so many years have magic, but their powers are premature because there's a whole history and story behind why their powers are still premature and what they can do to actually bring back their power so that they can actually stand for themselves and eventually emancipate themselves from everything and everyone. And fight back, really, and gain freedom and have autonomy, because everyone deserves that. But hopefully I'll do a different video explaining the magic system. But I don't know how to do that without giving everything away, and I don't want to do that. So Just know the magic system is there. It has its rules, it has its limitations, everything. It's well thought out. As I say, a lot went into research. The power system in this world is, I would say, it's, I think, a caste system whereby the social stratification is determined by hereditary status. So simply, this ruler, this leader of this whole country, the leadership has been in their families ever since the system was formed. So it's hereditary. And the current ruler is malevolent, he's a killer, he's a very cold man. Of course, there's a whole history and background to that, but that is who they are. Like, they are very self-centered, they are greedy. Does that ring a bell? Because I know a few leaders here and there who are like that. And that was the main inspiration because of what I actually see. Like, why are you taking all the resources and yet these people are starving? You will burn in hell. So that's just it. The system is hereditary, and the rulership has been in this family for the longest time, ever since the system was formed. So that's the power system. With the social class, there is 4 different groups. I might not necessarily name them, but of course there's the royals who are who they are because they were born into the right family, and it's an inheritance. My dad was a leader and I'm going to be a leader. Beneath them, there's another group of people. So here in Kenya, and I'm sure many other countries here in Africa, back in the day, the number of wives that you had, the number of children that you had, and the number of cattle that you had would either make you rich or poor. The more you had, the richer you were, and the less you had as a man, the poorer you are. So there's that group of people. Their affluence is determined by what they have in regards to, like, women who are seen as property, and children as property as well. And then beneath that, there are people who have to actually work to eat, to survive. And then of course there's the least in the social class, who are very, very poor. They have a name as well. And for them to survive, they have to get into a life of crime. And that's actually the reality. So there's a saying in Kiswahili that says, fasihi ni kioo cha jamii, which means literature is a reflection of the society. That is so true, because this is exactly what I'm reflecting. This is what I actually see in my society. So that's the social class. So the religion, who are they worshipping? There are 2 deities in my story. One is worshipped by the regular people, and then the other is worshipped by these people who are deemed outcasts because of the genetic disorder that they have. So that's the religion situation. There are so many things that go on in my story, in my book, and I just, showed you a tiny little bit. But trust you me, my culture is deeply immersed in this story, and I'm really excited about it. I'm excited for the world to see Kenya, to see our history, to see our culture, our people, the beautiful things that we have to offer, and the bad things that we also have to offer, because we're not going to hide that. That's not authentic enough, at least for me. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you learned a thing or two. If you have an author tube, if you have a story that you'd like to share, if you're working on an amazing story, or if you're just working on a story really, just let me know on my comment section below and we shall connect. I love exploring and reading about people from all over the world, because I believe we are very different and the same at the same time. So thank you very much for watching this video. Kindly like, comment, subscribe. Kindly just hit the subscribe button below. I will be talking more about Project TDS, and I hope you come along. Thank you very much. I will see you again. Bye.